37 drone operators gone, not captured, not displaced, eliminated in a single coordinated strike across 2 regions. The Russian Ministry of Defense just released footage showing the destruction of what they're calling a critical Ukrainian drone command post in Dnipropetrovsk, plus multiple deployment sites in Kherson. And here's the thing that matters. This isn't just another claim in a war full of claims. This is a shift in how this conflict actually works. So here's what we're going to figure out together. First, how did Russian forces even locate these targets with enough precision to coordinate a multi-region strike? Second, why are drone command centers suddenly the most valuable targets on the battlefield? More valuable than tanks or artillery positions? And third, what does this tell us about which side is actually winning the intelligence war right now? We'll get to all 3. But to make sense of any of it, you need to understand one specific thing about modern drone warfare. It's not about the drones themselves anymore. It's about the people controlling them. And if you can find those people, you can shut down an entire network in hours. Drone warfare in Ukraine has evolved into something neither side expected when this conflict started. In 2022, drones were supplementary. Reconnaissance tools, spotters for artillery. By 2024, they're the nervous system of the entire battlefield. Every major offensive, every defensive position, every artillery adjustment, it all flows through drone operators. They see the battlefield in real time. They direct fire. They spot enemy movement before anyone else does. They're faster than traditional intelligence. They're cheaper than satellites. They're everywhere. But here's the problem that just became catastrophic for Ukraine. All those drones need to be controlled from somewhere. And those control centers, they're fixed locations. They have to be. You can't run a drone command post from a moving vehicle and maintain the signal integrity you need for precision operations. So Ukrainian forces built these centers, hardened them, moved them occasionally, but ultimately they had to exist. And once they exist, they can be found. Russian reconnaissance assets have been systematically hunting these locations for months. The Ministry of Defense states that through a combination of aerial surveillance, drone reconnaissance, electronic intelligence gathering, and direct battlefield observation, they identified multiple facilities. Not just the drone center near Novopavlivka in Dnipropetrovsk, they found temporary deployment areas. They found where the 46th Independent Airmobile Brigade was operating. They found where the 63rd Mechanized Brigade had positioned equipment. They found the 121st Territorial Defense Brigade near Sukhanovo in Kherson. And they didn't just find them, they verified the coordinates, confirmed the targets, and then struck them all within a compressed time frame. The weapon they used tells you something important about where Russian air power has evolved. FAB-500 bombs, conventional free-fall munitions, 500 kilograms of explosive force. But these aren't your grandfather's dumb bombs. Each one is fitted with a UMPK, a Universal Planning and Correction Module. That's a guidance kit that transforms a conventional bomb into a precision-guided munition. Think of it as a retrofit that lets older aircraft deliver modern accuracy. The aircraft releases the bomb from a safe distance and outside most air defense ranges, and the guidance system steers it to the target. Not laser-guided, not GPS-dependent in the way cruise missiles are. It's a different technology, and it works. Now, why is this significant? Because it means Russia has found a way to scale precision strikes without building thousands of expensive cruise missiles. They take bombs they already have in inventory, add a relatively inexpensive guidance kit, and suddenly they have precision capability across their entire air force. Ukraine's air defenses are stretched thin, trying to intercept cruise missiles and hypersonic weapons, but FAB-500s with UMPK, those are harder to predict, harder to intercept, and there are thousands of them available. The operation itself reveals something about how Russian military planning has changed. This wasn't a single strike. This was coordinated action across multiple regions, targeting multiple brigades using real-time intelligence feedback. The Ministry of Defense reported that reconnaissance drones monitored the targets throughout the operation. Battle damage assessment was conducted in real time. They watched the bombs fall, they confirmed the hits, they assessed the destruction, and then they released the footage. That last part matters. Why release the footage? Because in modern conflict, information is a weapon. Ukraine has been publishing videos of successful drone strikes, destroyed Russian equipment, and tactical victories for months. It shapes how the world perceives the conflict. It influences domestic morale. It affects how Western allies assess the situation. Russia is doing the exact same thing. They're saying, look at our precision, look at our intelligence, look at your command structure being dismantled. But here's where this gets genuinely consequential. If Russian forces have genuinely located and destroyed multiple drone command centers, the operational impact is severe, not catastrophic. Ukraine has redundancy, they have backup systems, they have trained operators who can relocate and rebuild, but there's a cost, there's a delay, there's a window of vulnerability while they reorganize. And during that window, Russian forces can press advantages elsewhere. Drone operators aren't easily replaced. Training a skilled drone operator takes months. You need someone with spatial reasoning, quick reflexes, the ability to process complex battlefield information in real time, and the judgment to make targeting decisions. Ukraine has been burning through trained personnel. Losses in combat, casualties, burnout, the pool of experienced operators is shrinking. If Russia is now actively hunting and eliminating command centers, they're not just destroying infrastructure. They're killing experienced people. They're forcing Ukraine to pull operators from other sectors to rebuild what was destroyed. This is the part that cascades. Ukraine's air force is already degraded. They've lost most of their fixed-wing aircraft. They're relying on drones for reconnaissance, for artillery spotting, for some direct strike capability. If drone command centers are being systematically destroyed, that capability contracts. Artillery becomes less accurate. Reconnaissance becomes less comprehensive. Ground forces lose situational awareness. And once you lose situational awareness in a conflict like this, you're vulnerable to being outmaneuvered. The timing also matters. This strike, according to Russian claims, was conducted after extensive reconnaissance. That means Russian forces have been observing these locations for days or weeks. They've been verifying that the targets are legitimate. They've been waiting for the right moment. And then they struck. This isn't random. This is methodical. This is a campaign. Now, independent verification of these claims is difficult. Both sides in this conflict have incentive to exaggerate successes and minimize failures. Ukrainian sources haven't yet confirmed the extent of the damage. But the fact that Russia is making these specific claims, naming specific brigades, specific locations, releasing footage, suggests they're confident enough in the intelligence to put it on the record. That's a different kind of claim than vague assertions about destroying military infrastructure. What happens next is crucial. If these strikes were as effective as Russia claims, Ukrainian forces will need to rebuild command and control infrastructure. They'll need to relocate operators. They'll need to establish new communication networks. They'll need to do all of this while actively fighting on multiple fronts. That's not impossible, but it's a significant operational burden. For Russia, the strategic logic is clear. You can't defeat Ukraine's military by attrition alone. Russia has more manpower, more artillery, more air power, but Ukraine has better morale, better training in many sectors, and Western support. The path to Russian victory, at least to a favorable negotiated settlement, runs through degrading Ukrainian command and control. If you can make it harder for Ukrainian forces to coordinate, harder for them to see the battlefield, harder for them to direct their limited resources effectively, you shift the balance. Drone warfare has become so central to this conflict that whoever controls the drone operators controls the battlefield. Russia seems to have figured that out. They've invested in reconnaissance capabilities specifically designed to locate command centers. They've developed precision strike weapons that can hit those centers from safe distances. And they're executing this strategy systematically. Ukraine's response will be interesting to watch. They can disperse their drone operations, they can move command centers more frequently, they can build redundancy, but each of those measures reduces efficiency. A dispersed command structure is harder to coordinate. Frequent moves degrade communication. Redundancy means more resources devoted to command and control instead of actual combat operations. This is the grinding logic of modern warfare. It's not about spectacular victories. It's about systematically degrading the enemy's ability to function. It's about finding their critical nodes, the places where information flows, where decisions are made, where operations are coordinated, and striking them repeatedly until they can no longer operate effectively. The The broader consequence is that this conflict is becoming increasingly about technology and intelligence, less about traditional military metrics. Body counts matter less. Territory matters less. What matters is who can see the battlefield better, who can process information faster, and who can turn that information into action before the enemy can react. Russia appears to be winning that competition right now. And if that trend continues, it changes the entire trajectory of how this war resolves.